Hey everyone, grab a seat and hold your breath for a second because whatever you think you know about the Mackenzie Shirilla brick wall case is about to be completely destroyed. We've all seen the news and that heavy Netflix documentary, but a chilling new reality check from a jail insider just changed everything. Forget the tears she showed on camera. Behind bars, Mackenzie isn't mourning. She's running a secret, highly illegal fashion and jewelry empire inside her cell, laundering the money directly through her own mother's Cash App on the outside. While two families are buried in grief, she's walking the prison yard in tight, custom-tailored scrubs, flawless full-glam makeup, and fresh hickeys on her neck, laughing like she's on a college campus. You cannot afford to skip a single second of this video because the institutional files we're exposing will absolutely shake you to your core. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel right now, and let's move directly toward the evidence. The illusion of Mackenzie Shirilla being a broken, remorseful teenager vanished the very moment she stepped foot inside the Ohio Reformatory for women. When you look at high-profile inmates, you expect to see the crushing weight of a life sentence in their eyes. You expect to see tears, isolation, or at least a visible sign of grief for the two young lives ended in that horrific 100-mile-per-hour crash. But the reality behind those prison walls is a twisted contrast that left other inmates completely floored. Mackenzie did not walk into general population looking like a prisoner who just destroyed two families. Instead, she carried herself like a suburban mean girl who had simply transferred to a brand new boarding school. The most jarring thing right from day one was her appearance. Prison is supposed to strip away your vanity, but Mackenzie treated the yard like a fashion runway. Every single morning, without fail, she got out of her bunk and put on a full face of glam makeup. Her hair was never messy, it was perfectly flat ironed or curled, often styled with sparkling gems. She even had her prison uniform scrubs custom altered and tailored so they would fit her tightly. To the outside world, she was a convicted murderer serving 15 years to life, but inside she was living an unbothered high society life, wearing the newest, most expensive Nike shoes money could buy. This total lack of remorse quickly became the talk of the entire facility. Inmates who had committed far lesser crimes were weeping daily, filled with anxiety and regret for their choices. Yet, Mackenzie was always seen laughing, smiling, and completely detached from the gravity of her crimes. She didn't stay in her bunk or hide from the world. She walked the track, hit the gym, and networked with an inner circle of friends who matched her shallow energy. It was as if she had completely scrubbed the memory of July 31st, 2022 from her mind, refusing to drop the Valley Girl accent or shed a single tear for Dominic Russo and Davian Flanagan. But this wasn't just a psychological coping mechanism or a phase of deep denial. Mackenzie was actively building a position of influence, using resources from the outside to establish power on the inside. She wasn't just surviving behind bars, she was capitalizing on her environment by launching a highly organized, under-the-table operation that defied every prison rule. She found a way to turn her cell into a workspace, creating a shadow economy that would soon trigger severe internal disciplinary investigations and expose a much larger, darker network of enablers. Mackenzie was not just trying to fit in, she was actively building a position of power, using outside resources to establish complete dominance inside her unit. She found a way to turn her open bay bunk space into a highly organized, under-the-table business workspace. Behind the brick walls of the Marysville facility, she launched a secret fashion and jewelry hustle that completely bypassed state regulations. Mackenzie used forbidden arts and crafts tools, sewing kits, and unauthorized materials to custom alter prison gear for other inmates. She hemmed standard prison scrubs to make them tight and revealing, customized basic baseball caps, and crafted handmade nose rings and jewelry out of raw wire. In prison, a hustle like this usually trades in physical commissary items like soup packets or cosmetics. But Mackenzie took her shadow economy to a level that stunned the prison staff. She did not accept snacks or soap for her labor. Instead, she looked at the other inmates and flatly told them to send the cash directly to her mother's digital account on the outside. Because prisoners are completely blocked from accessing internet tools or smartphones, Mackenzie engineered a cross-wall communication network. An inmate wanting custom clothes would call their own family on the outside and instruct them to send electronic funds directly to Mackenzie's mother. Once her mother received the outside digital payment, she would confirm it and Mackenzie would deliver the contraband inside the yard. This continuous money laundering ring ran smoothly under the radar for months because her family actively enabled the operation from the comfort of their home. But this illegal cell block economy was only the tip of the iceberg when it came to Mackenzie's true prison lifestyle. As she gained more influence through her custom fashion ring, she began shifting away from the younger short-term inmates. She deliberately started embedding herself with the prison's most dangerous population, the lifers. In maximum security structures, the lifers hold the ultimate authority because they have absolutely nothing left to lose. By networking with these long-term convicts, Mackenzie secured a deep layer of social protection and absolute immunity in the yard. This dark alliance quickly altered her personal life inside the facility, leading to severe behavioral changes that state officials could no longer ignore. This alliance with the lifelong convicts completely transformed Mackenzie's daily reality, introducing a scandalous new chapter that the media completely missed. The young girl who once wept at her sentencing table was now moving through the facility with absolute confidence. Other inmates began noticing massive, unmistakable hickeys covering her neck on the yard. Mackenzie was no longer just a passive observer of prison drama. She was deeply entangled in intense, prohibited physical relationships behind bars. While her family continued to fight for her freedom on the outside, she was fully adapting to her new lifestyle, treating the correctional institution like her own personal playground. These visible marks were not just gossip, they were the physical evidence of an ongoing pattern of behavior that eventually caught the attention of the state guards. Official disciplinary records from the facility later proved that Mackenzie was officially written up and penalized for engaging in illicit sexual conduct. In women's prisons, these forbidden relationships are the primary cause of severe cellblock violence, jealousy, and dangerous group manipulation. Yet, Mackenzie consistently chose to break the rules, completely unbothered by the threat of solitary confinement or the loss of her remaining visiting privileges. This reckless behavior perfectly matched her ultimate psychological delusion. On prison phone calls with her family, Mackenzie repeatedly claimed that she would only be sitting in this facility for another year or two. She spoke about her active legal appeals with absolute certainty, completely convinced that a higher court would magically throw out her murder convictions and let her walk out the front door. She refused to accept the reality that she was serving 2 consecutive life sentences for a double homicide. But her absolute confidence was completely shattered by a brutal dose of legal finality. The state appellate courts reviewed every single piece of evidence from that fateful morning, including the horrific digital crash data and the deliberate acceleration into that load-bearing wall. The legal system showed absolutely no mercy to the girl who showed no remorse. Her high-stakes appeals were officially and systematically denied, closing her final legal pathways and trapping her indefinitely. This crushing defeat left her face-to-face with a terrifying psychological breakdown that would change her relationship with the entire prison population. The total rejection of her final appeals hit Mackenzie like a physical blow, instantly shattering her carefully constructed prison paradise. The realization that she was truly stuck inside the Ohio Reformatory for Women forever forced a sudden dark shift in her entire demeanor. The bright, cheerful suburban valley girl who spent hours curling her hair completely vanished. In her place emerged a hardened, bitter inmate who looked drastically different from the girl in the old news clips. Her voice grew rougher, her attitude turned cold, and she finally began adopting the aggressive, tough girl persona that she had falsely tried to portray to the Netflix cameras. As we move through 2026, Mackenzie remains locked away, completely trapped by the permanent reality of her concurrent life sentences. Her illegal jewelry business has been dismantled, the digital cash app money trail is blocked, and the prison staff keeps her under intense, continuous surveillance. There are no more glamorous makeup routines or custom-tailored scrubs to shield her from the gravity of her actions. For the families of Dominic Russo and Davian Flanagan, this total legal finality brings a profound sense of relief and justice. They no longer have to worry about Mackenzie winning a sudden appeal or walking free after destroying 2 innocent lives. Every time a new documentary or video brings this horrific tragedy back into the public eye, these grieving families are forced to relive their deepest trauma. But knowing that Mackenzie is finally stripped of her delusions and facing the true weight of her actions brings a small amount of peace. The girl who shed 0 tears for her victims must now spend the rest of her days staring at the concrete walls of her permanent home. You can't just stay on